Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Today I've got a fountain pen focus for you. We're going to be focusing on this. This is the Narwhal Schuylkill. Now I do have a couple of these. I'll fetch the other one in. I love the colours. I love the variety of colours as well. And I quite enjoy the pens. So join me now down on the mat. We'll take a look around the pen, do some weights, size comparisons, a writing sample, then I'll give you my thoughts and a score for the pen. Here we are down on the mat, and here we've got the Narwhal Schuylkill. The material this is made from is chromist teal, and I quite like this. We've got blues, we've got browns, got a little bit of chatoyan. So I'm just going to slowly turn this around so you can see it. Now the beauty with this material, each pen will be fairly unique in terms of the patterning. The broad colours will be very similar. Now I like this because yes, I've got blues, but I can also get quite a few different brown inks into this pen. I like to try and match my pens and the ink colours that I put in it. Let's take a look around the body. So at the top, it's got a slight dome to it, and it's just got this nice silver disc inset there. We come down. There's a very sharp taper, then we come in to the cap. The cap seems to be the same width all the way down. It's a really nice plastic material this, it feels really nice to rub your fingers over it. We've got the clip here, so the clip is just silver. There's up here a little lever that you can actually use to work that clip. I find that very hard to press, there's not a lot of room there to press with, but if you use your fingers it's nice and springy. So as we come down the cap, we get here to a drop off. It's a noticeable drop off from the cap to the body. I would have liked it if it would have tapered down a little bit so it's less noticeable. Very personal choice there. The first thing we see in the body is we've got the ink window. Just going to unscrew this bit. The ink window, not very big. Again, very personal choice. I'd have liked to have seen that ink window double the size. But it's still nice, it's still usable. You can see the ink there sloshing around inside the pen. The body, same width all the way down till we get to a silver ring. And then we've got the mechanism here. This is a piston filler. So obviously, as you can see, there's ink in there. I'm not going to twist this yet. At the top of the mechanism, again, it domes. So it's nice and smooth. All in all, quite a nice looking pen. There's nothing fancy about it, but it's pretty enough to look at. Let's take off the cap. So this comes off in half, 1, 1.5, just under 2 turns to take the cap off. Not too bad there. And then that reveals this Narwhal nib. One of the nice things with this pen is it's a number 6 size nib. And I believe it must be a Yoho nib, or it uses some kind of Yoho housing, because I have tried a Bock nib and I find that sweet, but Yoho nibs just slot in really easily. The nib itself, it's not complex, it's nice and plain. So we've got a nice decorative border going around the outside. Then on the inside, we've got that Narwhal logo. The nib on this is a medium point. Just going to fetch in my other Schuylkill. This is in the Paw Peter navy colour. This is what I was saying about the nibs. So what I've done is in this Paw Peter navy, I've got a Yoho nib that I got from Goulet Pens. Writes beautifully. I did try a Bock nib in here, but the Bock nib, as I say, just didn't seem to fit right. And although it would write, but when it was writing, it was creaking as if it wasn't a proper fit. But with this Yoho nib, it's so nice. So let me pop this away. So from the nib, we come down into the section. The section is quite comfy. There's a lip at the bottom, so your fingers fit quite nicely there. And I find my fingers on this tapering section, they fit really well. And the threads, they're just far enough up that they don't really feel like they're rubbing on my finger. Unposted, as you can see, it's nice. It's a nice fit, which is a good job because, yes, it will post. There you go. But it posts onto that piston mechanism. And one of my concerns is, as I'm taking this off, if I start twisting, I'm going to end up ejecting ink. So I don't use this posted, but it is postable, but with that caveat of just be aware that you don't trigger the mechanism. I'm just going to swap over the view and fetch in my two standard pens for a size comparison. The pens I've brought in, we've got a Pilot Metropolitan and we've got a Lamy Safari. I use these pens in all my videos because most people, they've either got one or they've seen one or used one, so most people have got an idea about the size. So looking at this, it's fairly obvious that the Narwhal Schuylkill ever so slightly longer than both of these pens. Let's take off the caps and look at them unposted. Unposted, what I've tried to do is line the pens up here with the top of the nib. So now we find that the Schuylkill and the Safari, more or less the same size. Not much in it really, is there? But with the Metropolitan, definitely a lot shorter. Let's post the pens and take a look at them posted. With the pens posted, that Schuylkill, once again, it's a lot longer. But it doesn't post as deep as the Safari. But I personally, I don't post it because I don't like the fact that it goes onto that piston mechanism. And as I've already said, I worry that I'll accidentally trigger it. Let's swap this over and fetch in two pens that are in roughly the same price range. So the pens I've just brought in, I've brought in a Lamy AL Star. I know, virtually the same body shape as the Safari, isn't it? But this Lamy AL Star, that cost me 75 Australian dollars. The Narwhal Schuylkill, this one cost me 84 Australian dollars. And then the other one I brought is a handmade pen that I got from Fremantle Markets. The price on this was 99 Australian dollars, but it also came with a ballpoint pen. I didn't want the ballpoint, so I actually gave that away. So as far as I'm concerned, it was $99. I actually do love this. I might need to do a focus video on this. Just look at this material. When we bought it, the guy that actually makes them was saying what he's done with this is these are various minerals that can be found in Australia, and he mixed up the resin himself. I think it looks ever so nice. It's so unusual. The other thing with this, the cap, it actually screws onto post, so it's really solid. Just line the nibs up. In terms of sizes though, when it's posted, the Narwhal, no surprise, it's a lot bigger. Let's swap these over and look at them unposted. Unposted, between the AL Star and the Schuylkill, very much similar size. That handmade pen, ever so slightly shorter, but if we look at the nibs, this is where the big difference comes in. We've got that tiny nib there on the Fremantle pen. We've got the standard Lamy nib there, which looks small compared to this number 6 size nib. And I do like the fact we've got a number 6 size nib. As I've already shown you, it gives a lot of flexibility in nib choice. Let's just pop the caps on these. So with the cap on, no surprise, the Narwhal ever so slightly longer than both of the other pens. Let's take a closer look at the measurements. I'm going to swap over and fetch in the rule of measuring. So here we've got the rule of measuring. Let's take a look at the body and the cap together. So that comes in at 14.5 centimetres. If we take the cap off, unposted, we're talking about 13 centimetres. Posted, here we're talking about 17.4 centimetres. If we take a look at the widths, the width of the body, that comes in at 1.31 centimetres. The cap, that's 1.49 centimetres. The section goes from 1.03 centimetres at the narrowest, and it goes all the way up to 1.17. So not an overly small, but equally not an overly wide section there. Let's get this out of the way and we'll fetch in the scales of weighing. So here we are. Let's do some weights. So the whole pen, 24 grams. The cap, 11 grams. The body, 13 grams. Remember, we've got ink in here as well. Let's swap this over and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Here we've got the notepad of testing. Ayush paper, made in India, really nice fountain pen friendly paper. It's 100 GSM. I like the rule width on this because that's 9mm, and especially when I'm using my broad and double broad nibs, it's nice to have that bit of room to play around between the lines. So let's jump in and do some writing. Unposted, that's how I use my pen. As you can see, nice fit. Section feels nice and comfy. So we've got here a Narwhal Schuylkill. This has got a medium nib, but to me, I think this looks more like a broad line that I'm seeing. $84 is what that cost me. The ink is by Colorverse, and it's Dark Energy. Love the name of this ink. Love the colour of it as well. And, you know, I'm going to call out already. We can see a load of shading coming through there. Let's look at drying times. So we go immediate, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 1 minute, still fairly wet after a minute. Let's do a 2-minute test. After 2 minutes, still got a slight smudge. Let's move the mic down to the paper and we'll write a sentence. That's very smooth, very little feedback. It's not quite like writing on glass. There's still a little bit of feedback there, but really you've got to pay attention to notice it. Let's look for line variation. So this is no pressure. This is adding pressure. So I am seeing a wider line. It's a steel nib, don't expect to see too much. There's my S's. And then my final flow test. That does ever so nicely. Had no issues with this pen since I've had it with things like stips or hard starts. It just writes first time. I mean, let's look at this writing. Look at all this gorgeous colour variation that I'm seeing. It's shading up really well. Really like the look of this. It adds a lot of character to my writing. Before I give my scores, I'm now going to use the Paul Peter Navy pen. This, as I said, it's got a Goulet broad nib in it. So we've got the Narwhal Schuylkill. Going to just call it a Goulet broad just so I know where I got it from. The ink in here, again, it's by Colorverse. This time it's Supernova. And then I'll just do a little bit of line variation checking. Just to give you a quick taste of this one. And to me, this is the beauty with this pen. It's so easy to swap that nib and then put in another one and get a completely different experience. So what are my thoughts and scores on the Narwhal Schuylkill? We'll start with the pen looks. I think it looks so pretty. I really do like it. I'll fetch in the Paul Peter Navy and just give you a spin through that. You know, we've got their blues, we've got like coppers, yellow, bit of gold, bit of silver and grey. Really nice patterns to look at. They're nice. I'm going to call them complex because that's what it does seem to me. There's not a simple geometric pattern. I think it just looks so pretty. There's a number of different patterns that you can get for this model. I've only got these two, mainly because they're the two that I like the look of best. I like the ink window. As said, I wish it would have been bigger, but it's usable, lets me see my ink level. So for pen looks, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. For the writing experience, you know, we saw here, so smooth, lots of gorgeous shading. It's a very generous medium nib. My preference is for broad nibs, so I actually quite like the fact that it's on the broader side of medium. I think it writes really nicely. I've tried this pen out on lots of different papers. Here we've got Ayush paper. Another one I'm just going to quickly fetch in for you to look at. This is 52 GSM Tomai River paper. So here we are, as you can see, really nice. On this Tomai River paper, we're seeing a lot of that shading coming through. Really enjoy using this pen. I know I keep saying it time after time, don't I? But writing experience, no issues. No problems with hard starts, no problems with skipping. 9 out of 10. Ink flow. Again, we've seen here, the ink flows really well. With the Paul Peter Navy, I actually got that with a flex nib. I didn't get on with a flex nib. That's nothing to do with the pen. It's just me. I struggle with flex nibs. So that's, to be honest, what led me to change that nib out. But the ink flows really well. We get a nice line, consistent line. I can leave this pen for weeks, pick it up, and it writes straight away. So ink flow, 9 out of 10. Value for money. I think this pen is terrific value. I really do. It's a solid pen. I take it out, take the cap off, put the nib to paper, and it writes. I like the piston mechanism. I like the ink window. I like the fact that you've got choice in the finishes. I like that you've got a lot of choices in the nibs you can buy with this pen. Everything just seems to be there in one package. So value for money for this pen, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. That means the total score for the Narwhal Schuylkill is 9 out of 10. So this is my fountain pen focus on the Narwhal Schuylkill. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on the Narwhal Schuylkill? Have you got one? Is it something you're planning on getting? Please drop a comment down below. Let's kickstart the conversation. Please hit the thumbs up button. Every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.